There are a lot of guys who foolishly think that the number of women you bang defines how big of a man you really are. This is incredibly stupid. The number of women you fuck does not correlate with what kind of a man you are. You can have had 1,000 women in your life and be not much of a man that I at least would respect. Or you could be a man who's only been with the one woman and you've had 10 kids or whatever and be a man's man, or vice versa. I mean, there is no correlation between the two. And let me explain why. Simply put, your notch count and how much of a man you are is just two independent things. They are not related. Sometimes they overlap. Sometimes a sexually successful man will also be a man's man, a man whom I at least can respect, a man who is a man in full. So we have to start with the definition of what it is to be a man and what it is to be sexually successful. I've said this many times before. The definition of what it is to be a man is simple. To be a man is to be someone who uses their logic and reason, their acquired knowledge and their experience to dictate their actions, both in the short term and the medium and long term, as opposed to allowing their emotions, their irrational outbursts, to dictate their fate. That's what it is to be a man. Now, to be sexually successful, that means that you have had multiple women, but more to the point, to be truly sexually successful, it means to be someone who has had at least a couple of kids in his lifetime. Yeah, that's sexual success. I mean, ultimately, what's the whole point of having sex? Procreation, right? And so if you have had a couple of kids with one woman, right? Well, there were two adults and they had two kids. You are sexually successful. Well, not even sexually successful, because sexually successful would mean 3 or more kids for 2 adults, right? Sexual failure would be 1 child or no children for the 2 adults, right? Okay, so that's what sexual success means, reproduction. Because that's the ultimate goal of sex. Doesn't matter how many women you have sex with. You can have sex with 1,000 women, but if you don't have any children with 1,000 women you've been with, then you are a sexual failure. Contrary-wise, of course, you can have 10 kids with the one woman. You're very successful. Yeah, it's simple as that. Okay, sexual success and being with many women is not the same thing. It all boils down to children, because reproduction is the whole point of sex. Never forget that. Okay? Yes, of course, sex is enjoyable in and of itself, but the reason it's enjoyable is to foment procreation. Okay? Every animal in the animal kingdom enjoys sex or whatever it is that they have to do in order to procreate. Yeah? If they didn't enjoy it, if it wasn't like a deep urge that drives them, that species would fail, of course. Okay? I mean, you gotta think here, right? Sex is enjoyable because it drives people to have more sex, and more sex means more likelihood of children. That's the point of it, and that's sexual success. To tell you the truth, in my own way of thinking, the whole notion of having like a boatload of sex with a boatload of different women and no children, it's like masturbation. I mean, what exactly is the point of it? Yeah? I mean, especially you who have had children, you'll know that there is something incredibly satisfying about getting a woman pregnant. Much more satisfying than mere sex. And sex is fun in and of itself, but once you get good at it, once you get good at game, right? Having success is no trick at all. You can have sex with whomever you want, right? Or let me rephrase it, not perhaps with whomever you want, but whenever you want. Because of course, you become sexually successful in the sense of being able to convince a girl to have sex. And so quickly you can get it whenever you want, right? But getting a girl pregnant, having your child growing in her womb, gives you a degree of personal satisfaction, a certain sense of personal euphoria that's very subtle, because it's not like a big thing. It's not like an orgasm, for instance, which is quite obvious. No, it's a subtle feeling, but it gives you enormous satisfaction as a man. Yeah, guys who've had kids, they know what I'm talking about. And guys who've had kids know that having like a shitload of sexual partners does not equate with sexual success. It just does not. Okay? Just as being a quote-unquote alpha male who is ruled by his emotions and whose fate is dictated by his whims or caprices or fate is not really a man, well, by the same token, a man can have multiple partners, hundreds, thousands of partners, but no children, he's not sexually successful. Simple as that. And of course, by these definitions that I've laid out, you realize, of course, that sexual success and being a man in full is not the same thing. They are often correlated, but there's no causal link between the one and the other. A man can be very sexually successful, have boatloads of kids, but be a man who's not somebody that you'd respect, who's not a real man. And he allows his whims and his emotions to dictate his actions and just is buffeted by fate and doesn't have any real control over his destiny. He's not much of a man, but he's sexually successful. On the other hand, you can find a man who does control his fate, who does rule his destiny, who goes in the direction that his intellect, his reason, his experience, his acquired knowledge tell him to go. But unfortunately has not had any children, or has been brainwashed into this notion that children are a bad thing, that he shouldn't have children, that having kids is actually detrimental to the environment or some stupid ass shit like that. You've heard that, right? Fuck that bullshit. Now, fuck that bullshit, because the fact of the matter is, if you don't have kids, you've not led a successful life as a man. Simple as that. Okay? And the fact is that children, yeah, they are a hassle. Of course they are. They're a hassle. They are a perennial worry. Yeah, and they do crimp your style insofar as leading a hedonistic life. Smirk. But the fact of the matter is that as you get older, you'll appreciate having had children. As you get older, you'll regret not having had more children. Okay? Children are a great source of happiness in your life. A great source of hope that things will be better. And as you age, as I'm aging, I'm realizing that, my body is beginning to decay, but I see my children and I see them in rude health and I see them growing every day. And it gives me enormous hope. The fact that my own body, that my own self is deteriorating is not particularly important, because as I watch them grow every day, as I watch them develop and come into their own, I live vicariously through them, as I should, as all parents do, and which is perfectly natural and healthy. And I want only the best for them, because as I live vicariously through them, I feel that their health is my health. I feel that their happiness is my healthiness. Their little victories are my little victories. And so I want more for them. And it gives me happiness and joy to see them flourish, even as I decay. Got all philosophical on you, huh? Didn't expect that, I bet, huh? Anyway, that's my position on this whole notch count thing. I just find it so stupid. And by the way, the reason I'm doing this video is because some guy on Patreon sent me a DM, and I try to answer all the DMs. And he asked me about this. And it's a fair question. It's a very fair question. But, you got to nip it in the bud. And that's what I'm trying to do in this video. Yeah? Fucking a lot of girls does not make you a bigger man. No, it doesn't. Okay? It just does not. And anybody who claims otherwise is a fucking idiot. Okay? I mean, it's as simple as that, for the reasons I've explained. Okay? You always, if you're self-conscious about being a man, and you want to make sure that you are living the life that you should, then focus on how you approach your decisions. If they are decisions made in haste, if they are decisions made irrationally, emotionally, if you allow external stimuli to trigger you, to create emotional reactions that potentially can have negative consequences in your life, then you're not a man. Simple as that. On the flip side, if you are a man who is measured, calm, who does not allow the external stimuli of his environment to influence his action, who rather, on the contrary, accepts any kind of external stimuli, meditates on it, thinks about it, tries to understand what it represents, And from his reason and his logic and his acquired knowledge and his empiric experience, then he makes a decision. Then he moves. That is a real man, and that is the man that you should aspire to be.